Hi there. So, this is the Nobel Prize acceptance speech by Rabindranath Tagore for his book Gitanjali. I'm glad that I have been able to come at last to your country and that I may use this opportunity for expressing my gratitude to you for the honor you have done to me by acknowledging my work and rewarding me by giving this Nobel Prize. I remember the afternoon when I received the cablegram from my publisher in England that the prize had been awarded to me. I was staying then at the school's Shantiniketan, about which I suppose you know. At that moment, we were taking a party over the forest nearby the school. And when I was passing by the telegram office and the post office, a man came running to us and held us the telegraphic message. I had also an English visitor with me in the same carriage. I did not think that the message was of any importance, and I just put it into my pocket, thinking that I would read it when I reached my definite destination. But my visitor supposed to knew the content, and he urged me to read it, saying that it contained an important message. And I opened and read the message when I could hardly believe, which I could hardly believe. I first thought that possibly the telegraphic language was not quite correct and that I might misread the meaning of it. But at last I felt certainty about it, and you all well understand how rejoicing it was for my boys at the school and for the teachers. What touched me more deeply than anything else was that these boys who loved me and for whom I have the deepest love felt proud of the honor that have been awarded to me, for whom they have feeling of reverence. And I realized that my countrymen would share with me the honors which have been awarded to myself. The rest of the afternoon passed away in that manner, and when the night came, I sat upon the terrace alone and I asked myself the question what the reason could be for my poems being accepted and honored by the West, in spite of my belonging to a different race, parallel and separated by seas and mountains from the children of the West. And I can assure you that it was not with the feeling of exaltation, but with a searching of the heart that I questioned myself and I felt humbled at that moment. I remember how my life's work developed from the time when I was very young. When I was about 25 years, I used to live in the utmost seclusion in the solitude of an obscure Bengali village by the river Ganges in the boat house. The wild ducks which came during the time of autumn from the Himalayan lakes was my only living companion, and in that solitude I seemed to have drunk in the open space like wine overflowing with sunshine, and the murmurs of the river used to speak to me and tell me the secrets of nature. And I passed my days in the solitude dreaming and giving shape to my dreams and poems and studies and sending out my thought to the Calcutta public through the magazine and other papers. You can well understand that it was a life quite different from the life of the West. I do not know if any of your Western poets or writers, do pass the greatest time of their younger days in such absolute seclusion. I was almost certain that it cannot be possible that the seclusion itself has no place in the Western world. And my life went on like this. I was an obscure individual to most of my countrymen to those days. I mean that my life was name was hardly known outside my own province. But I was quite content with that obscurity which protected me from the curiosity of the crowd. And then came a time when my heart felt a longing to come out of that solitude and to do some work of my human fellow beings, and not merely give shape to my dreams and meditate deeply on the problem of life, but try to give expression to my ideas through some definite work, some definitive service for my fellow beings. And the one work which came to my mind was to teach children. It was not because I was specially fitted for the work of teaching, for I have not had myself the full benefit of a regular education. For some time I hesitated to take upon myself this task, but I felt them as I had a deep love of nature. I had naturally love for children also. My object in starting this institution was to give the children of men full freedom of joy of life and of communion with nature. I myself have suffered when I was young through the impediments which inflicted upon most boys while they attended school, and I have had to go through the machine of education which crushed the joy and the freedom of life for which children have this insatiable thirst. And my object was to give freedom and joy to children of men. And so I had a few boys around me and I taught them, and I tried to make them happy. I was their playmate, I was their companion, I shared their life, and I felt that I was the biggest child of the party. And we all grew up together in the atmosphere of freedom. The vigor and joy of children, their chats and songs, filled the air with the spirit of delight. Which I drank every day I was there. And the evening during the sunset hours, I often used to sit alone watching the trees of the shadowing avenues, and in the silence of the afternoon, I could hear distinctly the voices of the children coming up in the air. And it seemed to me that these shouts and songs and glad voices were like those trees which come out of their heart of the earth like fountains of life towards the bosom of the infinite sky, and it symbolizes it brought before my mind and the whole cry of human life, all expression of joys and aspiration of life, rising from the heart of humanity up to the sky. I could see that, and I knew that we also, the grown up children, send up our cries of aspiration to the infinite. I felt in my mind of hearts of hearts. In this atmosphere and in this environment, I used to write my poem Gitanjali, and I sang them to myself in the midnight under the glorious stars of the Indian sky. And in the early mornings and in the afternoon glow of sunset, I used to write these songs till the day came when I felt impelled to come out once again and meet the heart of the large world. I could see that my coming out from the seclusion of my life among these joyful children and doing my service to my fellow creation was only a prelude to my pilgrimage to a large world. And I felt a greater desire to come out and come into touch with the humanity of the West. For I felt conscious that the present age belonged to Western man with his superabundance of energy. He has got the power of the whole world, and his life is overflowing all boundaries and is sending out the message to the great future. And I felt that I must, before I die, come to the west and meet the man in the secret shrine where the divine presence has his dwelling, his temple. And I, through the divine man with all his power and aspiration of life, and dwelling in the west. And so I came out. After my Gitanjali poem had been written in Bengali and translated these poems into English, having without having any desire to have been published, being difficult in the mastery of that language, but I had the manuscript with me which when I came out to the West. And you know what the British public, when these poems were put before them and those who had the opportunity of reading them in the manuscript before approved of them, I was accepted and the heart of the West opened without delay. And it was a miracle to me who have lived for 50 years far away from activity, far away from the West, that I should be almost in a movement accepted by the West as one of its own poet. It was surprising to me, but I felt that possibly this has its deeper significance, and that those years which I had spent in seclusion, separated from the life and the spirit of the West, have brought with them a deeper feeling of rest, serenity, and feeling of an eternal. And that there was exactly the sentiment that was needed by the Western people with their overactive life, who still, in their hearts of hearts, have a thirst for the peace, for the infinite peace. My fitness was the training which my muse had from my younger days in the absolute solitude of the beaches of Ganga. The peace of those years have been stored in my nature so that I could bring it out and hold it up to the man of the West, and what I offered to him was accepted gratefully. I know that I must not accept that praise as my individual shares. It is the East in me which gave to the West. For is not the East the mother of spiritual humanity, and does not the West to not the children of West amidst the games and plays where they get hurt when they get famished and hungry, turn their face to the serene mother, the East? Do they not expect their food to come from her and the rest of the night when they are tired, and are they not to be disappointed? Fortunately for me, I came in that very moment when the West has turned her face again to the East and was seeking for some nourishment. But I represented the East. I got the reward from my Eastern friends. And I can assure you that the prize which you have awarded to me was not wasted upon myself. I, as the individual, has no right to accept it, and therefore I have made use of it for others. I have dedicated it to our Eastern children and students. But then it is like a seed which is put into the earth and comes up again to those who have sown it, and for their benefits it is producing fruits. I'd use this money which I got from you for establishing and maintaining the university, which I started lately, and it seemed to me that the university should be a place where Western students might come and meet their Eastern brethren, and when they might work together in the pursuit of truth and try to find the treasure they, they have laid hidden in the East for centuries, and work out the spiritual resources of the East which are necessary for all humanity. I can remind you of day when India had her great university in the glorious days of her civilization. When a light is lightened, it can not be held with a shorter range. It is for the whole world, and India and her civilization with all its splendors and wisdom and wealth. I cannot use it for its own children only. I had to open its gate to hospitality of all races of men. Chinese and Japanese and Persian and all different races of man came, and they had the opportunity of gaining what was best in India, her best offerings of all time and to all humanity, and she offered generously. You know the tradition of our country are never to accept our material fees from the student in return of their teachings, because we consider in India that he who has the knowledge has the responsibility to impart it to the students. It is not merely for the student to come and ask it from the master, but it is the master who must fulfill his mission of life by offering the best gift which he had to all who may need it. And thus it was the that need of self-expression, of giving what have been stored in India and offer the best thing that she has in herself that made it possible and was the cause and the origin of these universities that have started in the different provinces of India. And I feel that what we suffer from in the present day is no other calamity but the calamity of obscurity, of seclusion, that we have missed our opportunity of offering hospitality to humanity and asking the world to share the best thing we have got. We lost our confidence in our own civilization for over a century when we came into contact with Western races and their material superiority over the Eastern humanity and Eastern culture. And in the educational establishment, no provision was made for our own culture. And for over a century, our students have been brought up in the utter ignorance of the worth of their own civilization of the past. Thus, we did not only lose touch with the great, which lay hidden in our own inheritance, but also the great honor of being able to contribute to the civilization of humanity, to have opportunity of giving what we have and not merely begging from others, not merely borrowing culture and living like eternal schoolboys. But the time has come that we must not waste such our opportunities. We must try to do our best to bring out what we have and not go from century to century, from land to land, and display our poverty before others. We know that we have to be proud of. what we have inherited from our ancestors, and such opportunity of giving should not be lost, not only for the sake of our people, but for the sake of humanity. That is the reason, and that led me to the determination to establish international institution where the Eastern and Western students could meet and share the common feast of spiritual food. And thus, I'm proud to say that your awarding me the prize had made some contribution to the great object which I had in my mind. This had made me come out once again to the West, and I have come to ask you to invite you to the feast which is waiting for you in the East, far East. I hope that my invitation will not be rejected. I have visited different countries of Europe and have accepted from them an enthusiastic welcome. That welcome has its own meaning, and the West had need for of the East, and the East had the need of the West, and so the time had come when they should meet. I'm glad that I belong to this great time, the great age, and I'm glad that I have done some work to give expression to the great age, where the East and the West are coming together and the proceeding towards each other. They are coming to meet each other. They have got their invitation to meet each other and join hands in building up a new civilization and a greater culture for the future. I feel certain that through my writing, some such ideas have reached you, even if obscure, even if obscurely through the translation. Some ideas which belong both to the East and the West. Some ideas which proceed from the East have been able to come to the West and claim its rest here, its dwelling, and to be able to receive its welcome, and have been accepted by the West. And if in my writing I have been fortunate enough to be able to interpret the voice of the need of the time, I am deeply thankful for you for giving me the glorious opportunity. The acknowledgement I got from the Sweden have brought me and my work before the Western public, though I can assure you that it has also given me some trouble. It has broken through the seclusion which I have been accustomed to. It has brought me out before the great public to which I have never been accustomed, and the adjustment has not been yet made. I shrink in my heart when I stand before the great concourse of humanity in the West. I had not yet been accustomed to accept the great gift of your praise and your admiration in the manner in which you have given it to me, and I feel ashamed and shy when standing before you. I don't do so now, but I will only say that I am thankful to God that He has given me this great opportunity, that I have been an instrument to bringing together, to unite the heart of the East and the West, and I must, to the end of my life, carry out that mission. I must do all that I can. The feeling of resentment between the East and the West must be pacified. I must do something, and with that one object, have started this institution. I do not think that it is the spirit of India to reject anything, reject any race, reject any culture. The spirit of India has always proclaimed the idea of unity. The ideal of unity never rejects anything, any race or any culture. It comprehends all, and it has the highest aim of our spiritual exertion to be able to penetrate all things which one soul, to comprehend all things as they are, and not to keep out anything in the whole universe, to comprehend all the things with sympathy and love. This is the spirit of India. Now, when in the present time of political unrest, the children of the same great India cries for rejection of the West, I feel hurt. I feel that it is a lesson which they have received from the West. Such is not our mission. India is there to unite all human races. Because of that reason in India, we have not been given the unity of races. Our problem is the race problem, which is the problem of all humanity. We have Dravidians, we have Mohammedans, we have Hindus, and all different sects and communities of men in India. Therefore, no superficial bond of political unity can appeal to us, can satisfy us. can even be real to us. We must go deeper down. We must discover the most profound unity, the spiritual unity between different races. We must go deeper down the spirit of man and find out the greater bond of unity which is to be found in all human races, and for that we are well equipped. We have inherited the immortal work of our ancestors, those great writers who proclaimed the religion of unity and sympathy in ways, in say, he who sees all being as himself, who realizes all being as himself knows truth. That was once again to be realized, not only by the children of the East but also by the children of the West. They also have to be reminded that of the great immortal truth. Man is not to fight with other human races, other human individuals, but his work is to bring about reconciliation and peace and to restore the bond of friendship and love. We are not like fighting beasts. It's the life of self which is predominated in our life. The self which is creating the seclusion, giving rise to suffering, to jealousy and hatred, to political and commercial competition. All these illusions will vanish if we go down to the heart of the shrine, to the love and unity of all races. For the great mission of India, I have started this university. I ask you now, when I have this opportunity, I invite you to come to us and join hands with us, and not to leave this institution merely to us, but let your own students and learned men come to us and help us to make this university to a common institution for the East and the West. May they give the contribution to their lives, and may we all together make it living and representative of the undivided humanity of the world. For this I have come to you. I ask you this, and I claim it to you in the name of the unity of men, and in the nature name of love, and in the name of God. I ask you to come. I invite you. 26th May 1921, Stockholm. That's it.